Some heroes wear capes. Others are champions, their victories celebrated in arenas roaring with thousands of fans. But some heroes, they're invisible, hidden in plain sight, their real power masked by the mundane. They are the silent protectors, the watchers in the shadows. This is the story of a man who mopped floors by day and cleaned up the streets by night. A man everyone saw, but nobody really looked at. By day, he was just Leo, the janitor at the world's most prestigious martial arts academy. But by night, he was a ghost, a phantom dismantling a crime syndicate that the academy's greatest masters couldn't touch. This is the story of how an underdog, armed with a mop and a secret, became a legend. We all know someone like Leo, someone we see every day but don't truly notice. What hidden strengths do you think they possess? Let us know in the comments as we dive into this incredible story. At the Dragon's Fang Academy, greatness is forged in sweat and discipline. The air hums with the sharp crack of kicks and the focused shouts of the world's most promising martial artists. And in the middle of it all, there's Leo, a man in his 40s, with quiet eyes and a slight stoop in his shoulders, pushing a gray mop bucket across the polished floors. His part of the scenery, as overlooked as the dust he sweeps away. The students, clad in their crisp white JS, stride past him without a second glance. One of them, a young man named Kato, the academy's star pupil, carelessly bumps into Leo, slushing dirty water onto the floor he just cleaned. Kato just scoffs, "Watch it, old man. Some of us have important training to do." Leo doesn't say a word, just gives a quiet nod as he reaches for his mop. He's invisible, a ghost in the Temple of Warriors. But then, the scene shatters. It's midnight, in a rain-slicked alley downtown. The air is thick with menace. Three hulking figures from the notorious Crimson Serpent Syndicate are cornering a young woman. Just as they move in, a shadow detaches itself from the darkness. It's Leo, but this isn't the stooped janitor from the academy. He stands straight, his presence filling the narrow space. Before the thugs can even register the threat, it's over. A blur of motion, a hand strike to a pressure point in the neck, a subtle leg sweep that uses the first thug's momentum to take down the second, a final, precise elbow to the third man's solar plexus. No wasted moves, no flashy kicks. Just silent, brutal efficiency. The three men were unconscious on the wet pavement before they even knew what hit them. Leo adjusts his simple jacket and melts back into the shadows, leaving only the sound of the falling rain and one question hanging in the air. How can a simple janitor be this deadly? If you're already hooked by this mystery, do us a favor and hit that like button. Trust us, you won't believe where his skills came from. The Dragon's Fang Academy wasn't just a school, it was a sanctuary. Perched on a hill overlooking the sprawling, chaotic city, it was a world of its own. Its wooden gates and gracefully curved roofs spoke of tradition, discipline, and a philosophy of strength honed over generations. Inside, Master Kenji, a man who seemed ageless, presided over the training. His movements were like poetry, his words sparse but heavy with wisdom. He taught the way of the soaring dragon, a style known for its powerful, acrobatic kicks and elegant, flowing forms. It was beautiful, awe-inspiring, and to the students, it was the peak of martial arts. The star among them was Kato, arrogant, talented, and the son of a wealthy benefactor. Kato believed the world was his for the taking. He saw the academy's teachings not as a path to self-improvement, but as a tool for dominance. He and his friends treated the academy like their personal kingdom, and everyone else was just living in it. Especially Leo, the janitor. To them, Leo wasn't even a ghost. He was just part of the equipment. They'd leave their training gear strewn about, spill drinks on the floor, and track mud across his freshly polished surfaces without a second thought, occasionally tossing a condescending remark his way. Leo never reacted. He'd just clean up the mess, his face an unreadable mask. He saw everything. He saw the flaws in Kato's technique, hidden beneath all the flash and power. He saw the hesitation in the younger students. And he saw the quiet worry in Master Kenji's eyes. Because beyond the serene walls of the academy, the city was being poisoned. The Crimson Serpent Syndicate, A brutal criminal organization led by a shadowy figure known only as the Viper was tightening its grip. They were a plague, spreading through the city's veins with extortion, drug trafficking, and violence. Their methods were ruthless and public, designed to make people afraid. The police seemed powerless, and even the proud Dragon's Fang Academy wasn't immune. Several of the academy's supplies had been shaken down, and students had been mugged in the lower city. Master Kenji preached patience and inner strength, believing their martial art was for defense and spiritual growth, not for vigilantism. "We are keepers of a tradition, not street brawlers," he'd tell his senior students. Kaito scoffed at this, seeing it as weakness. He boasted that he and his friends could wipe out the Crimson Serpents in a single night. But it was all talk. When faced with the raw, chaotic violence of the Syndicate, even Kaito's bravado was just that, bravado. The soaring dragon style, for all its beauty, seemed ill-suited for the brutal reality of an alley fight. It was like trying to use a calligraphy brush as a weapon. For Leo, this wasn't some abstract problem. He lived asterisk and asterisk the city, not on the serene hill. He saw the fear in the eyes of the shopkeepers he greeted on his way to work. He saw the Crimson Serpent's graffiti appearing like ugly scars on his neighborhood walls. He was part of the world the Academy tried to keep at a distance. He also had a daughter, Maya, a student at the Academy. Unlike Kaito, she was quiet, observant, and respectful. She was one of the few who always greeted Leo with a kind word. She had no idea he was her father. For her safety, he'd kept his identity a secret, arranging her scholarship through a third party. To her, he was just the school janitor who was always there, a silent, steady presence in her life. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. A small restaurant owner, an old man named Mr. Chen who always saved a hot bun for Leo, refused to pay the syndicate's protection money. The next day, his little restaurant was trashed, and Mr. Chen was in the hospital with a broken arm. When Leo visited him, the old man's spirit was shattered. That night, something inside Leo shifted. He had spent years trying to escape a past life of violence, seeking peace in being invisible. But he realized peace wasn't something you find by hiding. It's something you have to make. The serpent was squeezing the life out of his city, and the dragons on the hill were too proud to get their claws dirty. So, the ghost would have to walk. The ghost is about to walk. If you believe one person can make a difference, subscribe and ring that bell, because Leo's one-man war is just beginning. Leo's life was a paradox. By day, he was a creature of slow, deliberate movements. The sweep of his broom, the circular motion of his mop, the careful way he sorted recycling. Every action was measured, economical, almost meditative. Students saw a slow, plodding old man. But these same movements, this same economy of motion, were the very foundation of his martial art. His fighting style didn't have a name, a dojo, or silk uniforms. It was a brutal, practical art learned in a life he'd tried to bury. Let's call it the way of the unseen hand. It wasn't about forms. It was about anatomy, physics, and the cold math of a fight. It was based on one terrifying principle: absolute efficiency. Why throw a high kick when a jab to the vagus nerve in the neck shuts down an opponent's body? Why get into a long grapple when a targeted strike to the knee ends the fight before it even starts? It was the art of a man who fought to survive, not to score points. It was ugly, direct, and devastatingly effective. His first target was the crew who'd attacked Mr. Chen. Leo didn't need to be a detective. He was a janitor. He listened. He heard the whispers of the city, the gossip from delivery drivers, the boasts of low-level thugs. He found them in a dingy warehouse, laughing as they counted the money they'd stolen. Leo didn't make a grand entrance. He flowed through a broken window like a shadow. The first thug was mid-joke when Leo's fingers jabbed into his neck, striking a pressure point that sent a jolt of pure agony through his system, making his limbs go limp. The second one turned, eyes wide, and swung a crowbar. Leo didn't block it. He moved asterisk with asterisk it, redirecting the force with an open palm while stepping inside the swing. His other hand, fingers formed into a rigid spear, struck the man's throat. The man dropped the crowbar, clutching his neck, unable to even scream. The last one, the crew's leader, pulled a knife. He was smarter, more cautious. He circled Leo. "Who the hell are you?" he snarled. Leo didn't answer. He just watched. The man's eyes, his shoulders, the angle of the blade. He was a calm island in a storm of aggression. The man lunged, and in that instant, the janitor vanished. Leo was suddenly at the man's side, his hand clamping down on the man's wrist, twisting it at an angle it wasn't meant to bend. A sickening snap echoed in the warehouse. The knife clattered to the floor. A palm heel struck the temple, and it was over. He left them there, tied up with their own belts, with the stolen money piled neatly on their leader's chest. An anonymous tip to the police made sure they were picked up before dawn. This was just the start. Leo began a silent, one-man war. He became the city's phantom, a whisper in the criminal underworld. A week later, a major drug shipment for the Crimson Serpents was due at the docks. The syndicate had guards everywhere, but they were looking for cops or rival gangs. They weren't looking for a janitor in a beat-up work van who'd spent the day fixing a clogged drain nearby, observing their every move. That night, Leo used the environment as his weapon. A pile of loose pipes became a trap. A swinging cargo crane became a terrifying distraction. He moved through the chaos he created, a ghost in the machine, disabling guards with silent, non-lethal precision. He didn't destroy the drugs. He simply ruined them with a foul-smelling, indelible chemical he used for cleaning industrial grease traps. The entire multi-million-dollar shipment was now worthless. The legend of the city's ghost was born. The newspapers, picking up on the strange takedowns, gave him the name. The ghost left no witnesses, no clues, just trussed-up criminals and the faint smell of industrial-strength cleaner. The Crimson Serpent Syndicate was furious. Their operations were being crippled by an invisible force. The Viper, the syndicate's leader, was a man who thrived on control. This ghost was making him look like a fool. He put a massive bounty on the ghost's head, demanding he be brought to him, dead or alive. Back at the academy, everyone was talking about it. Kato was dismissive. "It's probably just another gang," he'd snay. "When they finally meet a real martial artist, this ghost will disappear." But Master Kenji was intrigued. He saw a discipline in the ghost's reported actions that spoke of a mastery he hadn't seen in years. "This is not the work of a common thug," he told his inner circle. "There's a deep, dangerous understanding of combat here." Meanwhile, Leo's daughter, Maya, was starting to connect the dots. She was naturally observant. She noticed the slight limp Leo had for a day. The same day the news reported the ghost had leaped from a 2-story window. She saw the faint bruise on his knuckles, which he tried to hide as he wiped down a table. She saw the way he moved, not like a tired old man, but with a deep, coiled stillness. When he swept, his feet were perfectly balanced. When he lifted a heavy trash can, he used leverage, not brute force. Small things nobody else saw. One afternoon, she accidentally dropped her training staff near him. Without looking up from his wake, Leo's foot shot out, tapping the staff just right so it spun into the air, landing perfectly in her waiting hand. It was too quick, too precise to be an accident. He gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod and went back to his mopping. For Maya, the puzzle pieces were starting to click into place. The stakes were rising. The Viper, enraged, ordered his top lieutenant, a monster of a man known as Brute, to draw the ghost out. Brute and his crew chose a new target, a community center in Leo's own neighborhood, a place where Maya sometimes volunteered. They weren't there to extort, they were there to send a message. They stormed the place, smashing everything, terrorizing the families inside. Leo heard the commotion on his way home. This was different. This was personal. No time for planning, no time for stealth. He just walked through the front door. Brute, a giant of a man, laughed when he saw him. "Look what we have here. An old man, come to sweep us out." His men chuckled, closing in. Leo's eyes were cold. "Leave, now," he said, his voice quiet but carrying an impossible weight. Brute's smile vanished. "Kill him." What happened next was a whirlwind of controlled violence. Leo didn't need the shadows anymore. He was the storm. The first thug threw a wild punch. Leo swayed, his hand striking the man's exposed elbow, hyperextending it. The second came with a broken bottle. Leo stepped in, using a broom handle he'd picked up to trap the man's arm, disarm him, and sweep his feet out from under him in one fluid motion. He moved through them like a force of nature, his unseen hand style a terrifying spectacle out in the open. Finally, it was just him and Brute. The giant was a skilled brawler, all power and rage. He charged like a bull. Leo stood his ground. At the last possible second, he dropped, letting Brute's momentum carry him over. As the giant stumbled past, Leo rose, striking 2 precise points at the base of his skull. Brute's eyes rolled back, and the giant crashed to the floor. Leo stood amidst the wreckage, breathing steadily. The families and volunteers, including a Shockmeyer who had hidden in a back office, stared in stunned silence. The janitor, the invisible man, had just taken down a dozen armed thugs without a scratch. The secret was out, and the Viper now knew the face of his enemy. The secret is out, and the stakes have just skyrocketed. What would you do if you were in Leo's shoes? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. The revelation sent shockwaves through the city. The humble janitor from the Dragon's Fang Academy was the ghost. The news ran his picture. The police were in an awkward spot. He was a vigilante, but he'd done more against the Crimson Serpents in weeks than they had in years. At the academy, the reaction was disbelief, quickly followed by awe and shame. Kaito was speechless. The old man he'd mocked, the man he considered less than dirt, possessed a level of combat skill that made Kaito's trophies look like toys. Master Kenji summoned Leo to his private dojo. It was the first time Leo had ever entered the room as anything but a cleaner. The old master stood in the center, his expression unreadable. "I have taught the way of the soaring dragon for 50 years, Kenji began. I believed it to be the ultimate expression of martial arts. It's strong, beautiful, disciplined, but it is a style for the dojo. What you have, that's something else. It's a weapon." Leo simply nodded. "It's what the street taught me. The art of survival." "The Crimson Serpent will not let this go," Kenji warned. "The Viper will see this as a direct challenge from this academy. He will come here. He will come to burn the dragon's nest to the ground." Kenji was right. The Viper was a man of immense pride. Being defied by a janitor and publicly humiliated was an unforgivable insult. He blamed the Dragon's Fang Academy for hiding this master in their midst. So he would make an example of them all. He gathered every soldier on his payroll for a full-scale assault on the academy. The attack came at dusk. A convoy of dark vehicles smashed through the academy's gates. Dozens of Crimson Serpent thugs poured onto the grounds, armed with bats, chains, and knives. The students, caught by surprise, rallied to defend their home. The courtyard exploded into a chaotic battlefield. They fought with the grace of the soaring dragon. Their kicks were beautiful, their forms perfect. But this was a different kind of war. The syndicate thugs fought dirty. They swung wildly, used brute force, and aimed to injure. For every thug a student took down, 2 more swarmed them. Kaito, for all his arrogance, fought with surprising courage, taking down several opponents with flawless technique. But it wasn't enough. A thug caught his leg mid-kick, and another slammed a pipe into his side. He went down, gasping. The academy's defenses were crumbling. Master Kenji and his senior instructors joined the fight. They were true masters, and they moved with a power the students lacked. But they were old, and they were outnumbered. They were being worn down, pushed back towards the main dojo. Inside, Leo was with Maya. He had tried to get her to safety, but she refused. "I'm a student of this academy," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "And you're my father. I'm not leaving you." It was the first time she'd said it out loud. He looked at his daughter, no longer a child, but a young woman of incredible courage. The doors to the main dojo burst open. The Viper stood there, flanked by his elite guards. He was tall, sharply dressed, and had the cold, dead eyes of a snake. He held a sharp, curved blade. "Ghost," he hissed, his eyes locking on Leo. "Your little war is over. I'm going to enjoy dissecting you, and then I will burn this pathetic museum to the ground." Master Kenji, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, stood between them. "You will not defile this sacred place." The Viper laughed. "Old man, your time is past." He signaled his guards to attack. That's when Leo stepped forward. He placed a hand on Kenji's shoulder. "Master, let me. This is a fight for the street, not the dojo." He turned to face the Viper. The janitor persona fell away completely. He stood tall, a master warrior revealing his true power. The elite guards charged. They were a class above the thugs outside. But to Leo, they were just moving targets. His movements were a blur of pure efficiency. No flashy techniques. Just short, sharp, brutal strikes. An elbow to a jaw, a knee to a thigh, a finger jab to a knife cluster. He moved between them, a whirlwind of precise violence. In less than 30 seconds, all 6 guards were on the floor, groaning in agony. He had dismantled them like a surgeon. The entire room, students, masters, criminals, stared in absolute silence. They were witnessing a level of martial arts they didn't know could exist. It wasn't about beauty. It was about pure, undeniable effectiveness. The Viper's sneer was gone, replaced by shock, which curdled back into rage. "Impressive," he spat. "But you've just been playing with children. Now you face a real serpent." He lunged, his blade slicing the air with incredible speed. The final duel began. The Viper was all aggression, his blade a constant, vicious threat. Leo was a calm study in calm. He didn't block the blade. He simply wasn't there. He flowed around it, evading each strike with the smallest possible movement, a rock in a raging river. He used the Viper's own momentum against him, redirecting his lunges, forcing him off balance. The Viper grew more and more frustrated. "Stand and fight, you coward," he screamed, launching into a furious combo. Leo saw his opening. As the Viper overextended, Leo moved in. He didn't attack the blade. He attacked the man. His left hand slapped the Viper's wrist, sending a numbing shock up his arm. His right hand struck the Viper's chest with an open palm. It didn't look powerful, but the Viper's eyes went wide as he stumbled back, as if hit by a battering ram. It was a technique that focused all of Leo's power into one devastating point. The Viper, clutching his chest, charged one last time with a desperate roar. Leo met him head-on. With one final, fluid motion, he disarmed the Viper, sending the blade spinning into the air. He caught it, and in the same movement, placed the flat of the blade against the Viper's throat. The fighting outside had stopped. Everyone was crowded at the door, watching. "It's over," Leo said, his voice calm and steady. The reign of the Crimson Serpent had ended, not with a bang, but with a quiet whisper of steel on a villain's skin. Leo faced the serpent and won. Was his brutally efficient style more effective than the Academy's art? Sound off in the comments. And stick around, because the aftermath of this epic showdown is coming right up. In the aftermath, the police, finally arriving, arrested the Viper and what was left of his syndicate. The Dragon's Fang Academy was battered but not broken. The students and masters looked at Leo with profound respect. He wasn't the janitor anymore. He was their savior. Kato, his arm in a sling, approached Leo and bowed deeply. "I was a fool," he said, his voice humbled. "Please, teach me." Leo looked at Kato, then at the other students, and finally at Master Kenji. He simply nodded. His life of hiding was over. He had found a new purpose, not just as a protector in the shadows, but as a teacher in the light. He had brought his two worlds together. He was Leo, master of the unseen hand, a janitor who had cleaned up more than just the flaws. He proved that true strength isn't about your title or your uniform, but in the quiet discipline of doing what needs to be done. The underdog had found his voice, not in a shout, but in the silent power of his actions, becoming a legend whispered not just in dark alleys, but in the hallowed halls of the heroes he saved. So, if you were captivated by the story of the janitor who became a hero, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of hidden masters and unexpected underdogs. Let us know in the comments what you think. Is true strength about flash and power, or silent efficiency? We'll see you in the next story.